Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Little Ghost Key Cover, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. This pattern includes two sizes, a small and a large, so that you can fit everything from tiny key fobs to great big bunches of keys. To make this pattern, you'll need 20 to 25 yards of Red Heart Super Saver or your favorite worsted weight yarn. I do recommend something tough so it can stand up to being used. You'll also need a USH 5mm crochet hook or whatever helps you get gauge. I used a pair of 8mm safety eyes for each of my little ghosties, as well as a 5/8 inch wooden bead. I also, as you can see here, used a keyring, but you can use a carabiner or something like this that clips onto your bag. Whatever you prefer. It's your project. Now, as I mentioned, this pattern does come in two sizes. Both are about 3¼ inches tall, and the small is about 2½ inches wide, and the larger one is about 3 inches wide, excluding these little decorative arms. As I mentioned, this allows you to fit different sized items. Here you can see a key fob, and when I pull up on this string, the key fob disappears and I can clip it right to my purse, and it's a cute little ghost guy there. Here we have the bigger one, the larger size, and this one you can see has a larger set of keys inside, but the idea is the same. We just pull down and it hangs from our bag or our purse or it lives inside our bag or purse and is just a whole lot easier to find. So let's go ahead and get started making our own little ghost key covers. So before we start stitching, let's take a quick look at how these guys come together. First and foremost, it's made in two parts. We have the little ghost by itself. This is the larger one, and here's the smaller one. And the fun things about these is you could use these for other purposes. You can see they actually stand up really well on their own, so they're just a fun little decor piece as well. But that hole in the top allows us to put this simple chain loop through the top. You can see I've used a bead at the top to sort of help me cover up this joining. I'll show you how to put this all together here in a moment. But I want to point out that I worked around this key ring right here. Now, that's what I had handy around the house. I had two of these, so this is what I used. But ideally, I would have loved to use a small carabiner or some sort of clip so I could clip it to my purse a little easier. The key ring is just a little bit more difficult to use. But you've got lots of options, and since I only had two key rings today, I'm actually going to be demonstrating with this small purse ring, which is another item I had laying around. So you could then, of course, add a clip to this. If you have something that, like I say, pops open, you can clip directly. However you want to use it, think about getting that part to make this part of your little ghost key cover. I also want to point out a special stitch and a couple of the notes. You'll notice that we do a bobble. That makes the cute little arms on the sides of our ghost. This is a double crochet, three together, worked into all into the same stitch. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you here shortly. But you'll notice that the instructions for the small and large sizes differ only in rounds 3 and 8. So the sizes are the same except for rounds 3 and 8. So be sure to follow the round 3 and round 8 instructions for the size you want to make. Now, normally when you make a bobble, we work a bobble from the wrong side and the bobble itself pushes out to the right side of the fabric away from this. In this case, since we're making the ghost all from the right side, we want to take the time to push the bobble to the outside while making the single crochet after that. And again, I'll demonstrate that as we come to it in the pattern. I also want to mention, though, that you should feel free to add any additional details to your ghost you might like. You could use embroidery thread to add a little smile or a little bow tie, whatever makes you smile. So let's go ahead and start stitching. Now, of course, I made my little ghost key covers in white yarn, as you've just seen. But for demonstration today, I'm going to use this yellow so that it's a whole lot easier for you to see my stitches. You can see I've already put a slip knot on the hook, so I'm going to begin round 1 by chaining 6. Now, we're going to join these to work in a ring, and this is a spot where a lot of people like to substitute a magic circle, and I'm a big fan of that myself. But for this project, we want that ring at the top, that hole, to stay open. So I want you to go ahead and do the chain 6. Let me make sure 1, 2, 3. Yep, I've got 6 here. So then we're going to slip stitch in the first chain we made back here by the slip knot to form our ring. So I just insert my hook right there, and I like to just kind of pull it over there so that I'm sort of slip stitching right into the top of that stitch, like so. There we go. So now we've made our little ring. Now to continue round 1, we're going to chain 1, and work 12 single crochets into the ring. So that means we're going to go right into the ring itself, not into any of the individual chains, and make 12 single crochets. So here's the first one, and I'm always a big fan of grabbing a stitch marker and putting it in the first stitch and sometimes the last stitch of the round as well, especially whenever I'm working in the round. Just helps me know with these short stitches where my row ends for sure. So there's our first one. Let's go ahead and add 11 more. Okay, so I've worked the first 11 single crochets into the ring, but I've paused here because I wanted to show you something. As you work these stitches into the ring, you may say, oh my gosh, I've run out of room. Well, it's yarn. Don't be afraid to just grab those stitches and pull them over and give yourself some more room to fit in those last few stitches if necessary. Once we've got those 12 single crochets made, we can slip stitch right to the first stitch of the round. And with that, we have finished round 1. And now we're ready for round 2. Remember, rounds 1 and 2 are the same for each size. So for round 2, we again start with our chain 1, and now we have a repeat. We single crochet in the next stitch, in this case the first stitch. So I'm going to move my stitch marker on up. Let me try and get that on there again. The yarn split just a little bit on me. There we go. So we've got our single crochet in the first stitch, and I'm going to move my stitch marker right into the top of that stitch. You can see I've added one to the last stitch as well. That way I don't get mixed up with this slip stitch and start thinking it's a stitch. So we've single crocheted in the first stitch, then we work 2 single crochets in the stitch after that. 1 and 2. And that's our repeat. Let's do it again. 1 in the stitch after that, 2 in the stitch after that. 1 followed by 2. 1, 2. And we do that all the way around for a total of 18 stitches. So this is what your little ghost key cover should look like after round 2. You'll notice I went ahead and wove in that first end. I do recommend you go ahead and take the time to weave that end in right now, because right now is when you're going to have the most access. As we make the rest of the ghost, it's going to be harder and harder to get up there with your yarn needle. So now we're ready for round 3. And again, this is where the pattern differs. Are you going to make the small size or are you going to make the large size? If you're making the small size, all you need to do is chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. Pretty straightforward. If you're making the large size, we do have this one more round here of increases. So let's go ahead and work the large round together. We're going to start with a chain 1, and then in this round, we're going to work 2 single crochets in the next stitch, in this case, the first. So I'll move my stitch marker out of the way. There we go. So there's 1 and 2 right in that first stitch. And now I'm going to go ahead and go back and mark that first of those 2 to make sure I have the first stitch marked there. And then we single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. My yarn's getting a little tight. Let me pull up a little bit more for my skein here. Remember, we want to control the tension with our hands, not let the skein control it for us. So that was our first repeat here for the large size round 3. Now we do it again. 2 single crochets in the next stitch. 1 and 2. And then single crochet in the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oop, there we go. And 5. And then we do that repeat one more time to finish up round 3. So here I have finished round 3. And you can see if I turn it this way, it's already starting to come down and form the shape of the body. If you're making the smaller size, it's turned down even more because we didn't have any increases there in round 3. Now, we're back to following the same instructions no matter what size. For rounds 4 through 7, we simply chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. So we keep working even. Now, one thing to note here about the length. I designed this for standard key fob length and sort of some standard keys, but in wandering around the house, I found we actually own some very long keys. So I would recommend you grab the keys you intend to put these on and give them a try. If you've got some of those very long keys too, you might want to go ahead and add an extra round or two to the length of your ghost. That's the great thing about crochet. We can always customize it for our needs. So, in the meantime, go ahead and crochet evenly in each stitch around for rounds 4 through 7. No more increases, just work straight down the body. All right, so here you can see our little ghost is taking shape, and I've worked the first 7 rounds. So now we're ready for round 8, and that's the other round that is different depending on what size you're making. So if you're making the small, then the number of stitches you work between the bobbles and before and after the bobbles are going to be slightly different. If you are making the size small, you chain 1 and single crochet in the first 4 stitches. We're making the large, so we need to chain 1 and single crochet in the first 5 stitches. So let's go ahead and take a moment to do that. I'm going to move my stitch marker on up here again. Always handy. That slip stitch really wants to masquerade as a stitch itself sometimes that we would crochet into. And in this pattern, we're not doing that. So having the first and last stitch marked is really helpful. So let's come back here and see, since I was talking away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've single crocheted in the first 5 stitches. And now we're going to work that bobble for the little arm on the side of our ghost. This is purely decorative. So how we make the bobble for this stitch. Bobbles can come in lots of different sizes. This one is a double crochet 3 together bobble. So we yarn over, we go right into that next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And we stop with 2 loops left on the hook, yarn over again, go right back in that same stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. Now we're going to do that one more time. Yarn over, go in that same stitch again, yarn over and pull up our loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. That should leave us with 4 loops left on the hook, and we yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. Now, if you've made bobbles before, you probably learned what the right way to do it, which is to push that bobble back as you make the next stitch so that it pushes out away from us. For this bobble, though, we want to push it the opposite direction. So this can be a little tricky, and don't be afraid to take your time with it. You can see I'm going to take my finger and just push the bobble outwards from behind. And as I do that, I'm going to bring my hook down right here into this next stitch. And I'm going to make the next single crochet, and I'm going to make it pretty tightly. Normally, I don't like to pull back on my working yarn, but I do when I'm making a stitch after a bobble. I want this to be one of the tighter single crochets in my project, because what that's going to do is it's going to hold that bobble down so that it creates that 3D effect. And now it's pushed to the outside. Now, if you made that single crochet and your bobble went the wrong direction, that's okay. Just take a moment and push it back the right way. After we've got that bobble made, as I say, we single crochet right away in that next stitch to help it stick out really well. And then, again, it depends on what size we're making. We would need 7 more single crochets for the small, and then we would need 8 more for the large. And of course, I'm making the large. Let's go ahead and make those now. Okay, let's double check. After our bobble, for the size large, we need 9 total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So when you've worked around for whatever size you're making, it's time to make the second bobble for that other arm. So let's go ahead and make another bobble together. We yarn over, go right into that next stitch, pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over again, go into the same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. One more time, we yarn over, go into that same stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2. Once we've got 4 loops on our hook, we yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. Then we make that next single crochet, and we do our best to try and push that bobble to the outside of our work towards us as we make it, and make that next single crochet nice and tight. That really does help. Then we just continue to single crochet in each remaining stitch of the round. So this is what your little ghost should look like after round 8. Rounds 9 through 10, we're back to working even. Chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. So again, if you're making an extra long ghosty, you'll want to put some of those extra rounds probably up above the arms, and then some of the extra rounds below the arms to sort of split it up nice and evenly. But for now, we just chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. And this is what your little ghost should look like after round 12. Now we have just one more round, round 13, which is again the same for both sizes. For this round, we start with a chain of 1, and then we are going to work our repeat, which is single crochet in the next stitch. So in this case, the first one. We'll go ahead and mark that stitch here. There we go. Then we double crochet twice in the next stitch. So 1 and 2. And then we single crochet in the next stitch. And that's our repeat. So let's do that a couple more times together. Single crochet in the next stitch. Oop, split my yarn a little bit on that one. Let's start again. Fix the yarn. There we go. Single crochet in the next stitch. Then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2. There we go. And then single crochet in the stitch after that. I need to pull up a little bit more yarn here from my skein. There we go. Let's do that repeat one more time together. Single crochet in the next stitch. Remember, we always start with single crochet. 2 double crochets in the stitch after that. 1, 2, and then single crochet in the stitch after that. So keep working that all the way around and then join at the end. And as you can see, round 13 added the fun ruffled bottom to our ghost. So now the body portion is all finished. So it's time to add the eyes and create the face, or add whatever details you want to add. Now, here we can see on the back, there is our joining seam. So we want to make sure to put our face on the opposite side. You can see here I've set out a couple of 8mm safety eyes. You can use whatever size and style of safety eyes that you want to use. You can embroider them on, use French knots, whatever you prefer. I like to put my safety eyes between, let me double check my instructions here, between rounds 5 and 6. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means right between rounds 5 and 6 here. So I just tend to kind of find some holes between the stitches and try one. And then I'll put the other one in a couple stitches away on the same row, and then step back for a moment and see what I think, and then readjust. Once you put the backs on your safety eyes, they are stuck on permanently unless you cut them off. You can cut them off, but then you've lost that back and you're going to need to use another one. So be sure to take your time and just figure out exactly where you want to add the eyes on your ghost, closer together, farther apart, whatever suits you. And when you've got them in the right place, you can go ahead and add the backs to your safety eyes. So once you've got the body made, it's time to make the hanging loop. We want to make sure to leave a good sized tail here before we make our slip knot. After you get your slip knot on your hook, you're going to tightly chain for approximately 9 inches. We're not going to be working back into these chains, so you don't have to worry about making them loose so you can get your hook in there. In fact, the tighter we can make these chains, the better. So make a long chain about 9 inches long or so. And then at the end, when you cut your yarn, make sure you leave another long tail like this one. So as you can see, I've chained for about 9 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, get as close as you can. I've also left a long tail here, as you can see, on both of those ends. And I've gotten the ring or carabiner or wherever we want to attach to, and my bead ready to go too. You can see here, this is the type of bead I was talking about. You can use whatever color, design you like. The main thing is we want to make sure the hole in the center is big enough to get a yarn needle through. So there's a variety of options out there. I've even seen some really cute Halloween themed ones as well. So whatever you can find, whatever you've got handy, that's what you should use. So now we prepare our hanging loop. We've got the crochet part done. Now we need to assemble it. So I'm going to take both of these ends, and they're not exactly the same length. That's okay. I just want to get them both here on my yarn needle, like so. There we go. And now we can take those ends and thread them right on through our bead. So go right through our bead like so. And I'm going to pull the ends the rest of the way through. And I can pull on both of those sides here so I can get to the point where our knots are right at the bottom of the bead. Or rather, I should say our would have been our slip knot and the end of our chain, right where the chain begins and ends. We want that right at the bottom of our bead. Now, I've still got those ends on my needle, So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ring, the carabiner, the clip, whatever I'm attaching to, also go through that, doesn't matter which direction, and then back down through the bead. That's why, again, we need this nice big hole in here so that we can squeeze it through. Now, if you have managed to pick out a bead that it doesn't quite fit through, but you really want to use it, instead of using a tapestry needle, you can loop some dental floss and use that to help pull the ends of your yarn through the hole in your bead. That is another option. So now I just want to take a moment. You can see what I've got done so far right here. We're almost finished, in fact, but I want to take a moment to make sure that there's a little bit of play here in these loops so that my ring or whatever I've attached to can spin around in there a little bit. Now, particularly if you decided to use one of these key rings with the openings, you want to make sure it's big enough that it can go around the larger portion of that key ring as well and not just be stuck on that little section right there. So take a moment, make sure you've got a nice big loop right here. This is one of the reasons I love using Red Heart Super Saver for patterns like this. It's tough. It'll put up with what you dish out. We know this yarn isn't going to break on us. So when I've got that loop that run on my ring or my carabiner, my attachment piece to the size I want, double check and make sure we haven't pulled back here, that my loops are right where I want them. You can pull on each one individually as needed. Get that right where you want it. There we go. And now I'm going to lay that down for a second, pick back up my yarn needle. I'm going to separate these two ends, and one at a time, I'm going to weave them back in down the length of this chain. So this can be a little bit tricky. It's hard to get the end totally hidden in there. Again, I want to take a moment, just make sure everything's lined up and not getting too tight on me. There we go. But just take your time with it and weave in back and forth through the chains until you can get it buried as well as you can. And then you can use your scissors to really trim off anything that sticks through. I know some people believe in melting this yarn. I haven't tried it myself, but if that's something you like to do, then that's certainly another option. Some people really like to use flames, real fire along with their yarn. It's, again, not something I've played with, but it does seem to work really well for those who give it a try. If you do decide to try it, obviously use all the precautions and do it outdoors. And, small children far, far away, I guess, just in case. All right, there we go. All right, so we have woven in that one. I feel like that one's going to stay really well. You can weave that in a little better if you like. Take your time with it. Since we're just demonstrating here with our little yellow ghosty, I'll go ahead and call that good. So now I want to take that other end and just go down the other half of our chain here to hide this one as well. So take a moment and do that, and then I'll show you how to assemble it when it's done. Okay, so now we've got all the crocheting done. It's time to assemble our little ghost key cover. We have our chain here, our hanging loop, and we're just going to send that right down through the top of our ghost, like so. And you can see the bead is there to keep it from going all the way through. Once we've got that loop through, then it's time to attach our keys or our key fob. Now, quick note, when I was attaching this key fob, you can see I had a very small opening right there. If you find yourself stuck in the same predicament, I used a yarn needle to help push that loop on through. If you've got keys with a big opening or an actual key ring that you're attaching down here, it's a little bit easier. So all we need to do is send this loop through the ring or through the opening in the key fob, whatever it is, and then send the keys or the key fob through again. Now, I picked this set to demonstrate with. This is a really tall set, tallest keys we've got in the house. So if you run into this, if you get a tall set where you send this through and oh my gosh, it's so hard, it's, difficult to get through. These ones aren't so difficult, but if you hit one that was, what you can do is also fold down or up the skirt of your ghost and give yourself a little bit more room to play. So once you've done that, you can see it's very easy. We can slide our loop right through the loop of our keys, our key fob, whatever it is, send them through again. And then, of course, it is fully attached and we can take it back off when we change our mind or when the seasons change. Put our little ghost skirt back down here. And then you can see when I pull up and attach it to my purse or my bag, my keys are mostly hidden. This is one of those long ones. And you have an adorable little key cover right there. And you can just pull them right out and use them whenever you need them. And that's how to crochet the little ghost key cover. Remember, this is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.